Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you. My name is Brother Omar El Rashed, and I am the author, poet, and Peaceful Heart's Guide. For those of you who don't know, I was pushed over the cliff and attempted suicides by life circumstances and was pushed to the brink. And by the grace of God, alhamdulillah, I not only survived, but I came to thrive. And I've made it my life's purpose to help others who are struggling with depression, anxiety, and bipolar to feel better, to live better, and to embrace the peace that is possible for all of us, inshallah, as long as we do and follow the way. So I wanted to answer a question that I received in conversation with a dear friend. And we were talking about the situation, and as I was sharing, and I've shared on these videos before, there's a particular process called the grief cycle, which helps us to start feeling better. And this is only one tool in the toolbox, if you will, but it's a powerful one. And the idea is that, when we are growing up in our lives, as we go through our days as adults, but especially as children, we have all experienced trauma or loss. Things have not gone the way that we needed things to go or wanted things to go. And that creates, in the end, a little bit of frustration or anger. And, one anger by itself is not bad. Feeling like, for example, maybe when you were a child, you didn't get as much attention as you needed, or there was a toy that you really wanted and you didn't get it. And it doesn't really matter how big or small it is, quote unquote, in real life. And it also doesn't matter whether it was a genuine, difficulty that couldn't be avoided or not. If we had a desire as a child or as an adult, and even if we had a hope for something that may not have ever materialized, if it doesn't go the way that we wanted, that ends up being a loss. And every loss has to be grieved. Losses come when something we hope for, something we need doesn't happen. You feel the loss, you experience the loss, and the natural reaction, or sort of the intended reaction, the way that the healthiest way to handle such a situation is after you experience the loss, you get angry because you've lost something, and you deal with the anger, you let it resolve, you express it, you feel your feelings. After that, you're able to transition the anger into sadness. And when you feel sad, after all of the anger is spent, you cry it out, you feel bad for what happened, you feel sad, and then you transition, and then you're able to make meaning out of it, and you're able to heal from it, and that takes it out of the jar, if you will, of pent-up anger. And so one of the things that I commonly express is that, if you've gone through your whole life and loss after loss after loss, trauma after trauma after trauma, you just continue to stuff those feelings. You imagine a 50-gallon drum and you just stuff those feelings in and you never let them out. Well, eventually it's going to explode on other people, right? And so if you are in the habit of not expressing your emotions, that can happen. And the more you shove them down, eventually they leak out. But if you express them in a healthy way, then you're emptying the jar. You're taking all of that suppressed anger, that suppressed emotion out, and then you're free, and you feel light, and you feel gentle, and you feel at peace. So someone was asking me, this particular young lady was asking, and she said, Omar, I do cry. I do express my emotions, and I cry a lot, and I never feel better. And I wanted to share this subtle reality, which isn't talked about very often, but is essential to understand how to heal and recuperate from these emotions that we're expressing and that we're feeling. A lot of us feel emotions. Some people feel a lot of anger. Some people feel a lot of sadness, and they feel a lot of tears. And it doesn't ever extinguish, it doesn't ever get spent, and it doesn't ever heal. Why? There's a special clarification or classification I'd like to make to distinguish between one emotion with two intentions. So the first is crying or sadness or grieving from the position of resignation, giving up, surrender. And not surrender in the positive sense of surrendering to God, but surrendering as if hopelessness, basically. So the first is grieving from resignation, giving up, hope. The second is grieving from opportunity, growth, and healing. Those are two very different kinds of grieving. I'm going to describe them both. So, grieving from resignation is when you cry and you cry and you cry and you feel terrible about what's happening. And at the bottom of your heart, you know for sure things will never get better. You have hope, none. You have absolutely no hope. You don't believe things are going to get better. You don't believe things are going to change. You believe that it's a permanent reality, a state of crying that will never end, and the pain will never go away, and there's no light at the end of the tunnel. That this is the way life is pain, life is misery, always and forever, and so you cry. And the more you experience it, the more you cry. And the next day, you continue to cry and cry and cry. That's crying or grieving from resignation. But there's another kind of grieving as well, and that's called grieving from hope, opportunity, and growth. So in this kind of grieving, you are starting from the position of something terrible has happened. I have faced a loss. I have faced a trauma. I have been hurt. People have hurt me. Life has hurt me. My health has hurt me. Something has hurt me. I lost that opportunity I wanted. And you're sad. And you cry. And you grieve. And you feel the fullness of the emotion. And you're crying your heart out. And it hurts. And it hurts. And it hurts. And you cry. But inside, you believe that after crying, it will eventually finish. And you also believe things can get better, and they will get better once you express the emotions, let them go, and move on with my life. Those are two very different kinds of grieving. Many of us have never had the language to distinguish between the two. But this is one of the key elements of successfully transforming and successfully processing emotions and finding the peace and the serenity and the tranquility that we all seek. This is what it takes. Understanding the difference between the two different types of grief and having someone guide you through the process so that when there are questions and things that come up, you have someone to guide you through. And so this is what I wanted to share today. The difference between grieving from resignation or hopelessness and grieving from a position of growth and hope and opportunity. How do you get to that state? That's something that I can't cover in a video, but we can have that discussion at another time. If you have questions about this topic or anything else, feel free to reach out to me and send me a message. If you enjoyed this video and if it was beneficial to you or think it might be beneficial to someone else that you know, please feel free to share it or pass it along. And if you haven't yet taken the survey and would like to do so, it is attached in this video. This survey helps to get the process started of getting the help and the healing that you need, and is a way to start the process of finding security and serenity from depression, anxiety, and bipolar. Again, this is Brother Omar El-Rashed, and with that I will bid you adieu. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you.